This episode is brought to you by Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street. Craving something delicious in Paso Robles? Rad Scooter Deli on 6th Street has you covered. Enjoy tasty sandwiches, fresh salads, and smoothies like the Banana Nut Blast, my personal favorite. Kick back on the covered patio, sip on a cold beer and wine, and enjoy the easy parking. Order online for pickup or dine-in. And here's a treat. Use promo code PODCAST for $5 off your next order. That's podcast for $5 off your next order. Open daily from 6:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Rad Scooter Deli. Local flavor, fast and fresh. This episode is brought to you by the White Wave Wellness. Choose to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Wellness is more than being free from illness. It is a process of change and growth towards a mentally and physically healthy lifestyle. Reach out to Jennifer Hale to learn more about how this water can change your life. This episode is sponsored by Western Janitor Supply. They have cleaning supplies and equipment for any workplace. Call today at 805-238-2112. They provide an extensive line of chemicals, paper products, and floor equipment. Again, that's Western Janitor Supply, located in downtown Paso Robles. This episode is sponsored by Santos Bros Plumbing. Are you in need of a dependable and effective plumber you can trust? Look no further than Santos Bros Plumbing, your trusted local plumbers in Paso Robles, California. Call them now at 805-360-4679. That's Santos Bros Plumbing. We are in the Paso Robles podcast studio, and today we have Cammi. And Cammi, you're going to tell me, we met during a presentation for Coggin Water, right?
Yes.
And you were very interested in being a guest because you have a story, an event to promote. So I'm just going to let you tell the audience who you are, what do you do, and what message you want to give them.
Yes. So my name is Cammi Velci, and I fell into this, painful walk when my son was poisoned by fentanyl. He had been complaining of a toothache for several months, and we had talked about it. He was supposed to come over to my house on Monday, March 9th to schedule his appointment. And of course, months before that, we had tried to schedule appointments, but being a 19-year-old wanting to play basketball, or maybe he had a date or something, it was really difficult to get that taken care of. Finally, we made a date for March 9th. However, he passed away in the early morning hours of that morning. His wisdom teeth were coming out, and he was looking for relief. And he purchased what he thought was a Percocet. Someone at his work offered him these pills. Initially, he had said no. Several days later, the offer was made again, and he bought the pills. He bought 3 tiny blue pills that he was told were Percocet, and they turned out to be fentanyl. And he took just one late March 8th or early March 9th, and he passed away at his home on the couch playing video games. And, you get that dreaded phone call that no parent wants to get. And it, of course, was tragic, and it was a horrible, horrible situation and day. And that day started my journey into what killed my son.
I'm sorry for your loss. It's obviously something that you said yourself, no parent wants to ever hear. So when that happened, you've learned what happened. You've had to educate yourself, because I'm guessing now you feel the need to tell other people to please be careful. Can you explain the difference of drugs? You should never buy anything from anybody who's not licensed.
Right.
Right. But you had to learn these things because now you wanted to find answers. What's the Percocet? What's fentanyl? And what effects does those have on people?
Yes. So absolutely. I mean, that is our true messaging is, don't take something that you're not getting as a prescription from your doctor. If you are a child, you get it from your parents, your own prescription. And unfortunately, my son, had that pain and he thought this person was trying to help him. The fentanyl that is in all drugs right now, all street drugs, is we say tainted with fentanyl. There was no Percocet in his pill. They are counterfeit. They are made with the fentanyl and fillers. So your street Xanax, your Adderall, Percocet. Now in the last few years, we're seeing it in street marijuana. We are going away from heroin. There's really no more heroin out there. It's all fentanyl. And then, of course, we're seeing stronger drugs than that, which is xylazine and carfentanil. Fentanyl is a pharmaceutical when created, for medical purposes. It is used a lot of times for end-of-life care. The fentanyl we're talking about originates the precursors in China. They are then sent to Mexico, and then they're made there, the counterfeit pills or powders, and then brought into the U.S. and sold on the streets. You can buy a pill for $1, $5, $25, and it is sold widely on the internet, on Snapchat, on Facebook, on Instagram. And unfortunately, if you're, gone are the days of going down a dark alley and looking for a drug dealer and purchasing some kind of illicit drug. With one of these, a cell phone or a computer, your children have drug dealers at their fingertips.
Right.
And it's important to get that message out to our children and to the public that nothing is safe. No drug out there, no drug on the internet, nothing you purchase is safe and may, result in death.
Yeah. I think that's one of the scariest things is there's so many out there now. I mean, I don't know. When I was younger, I've heard of things, right? Pills, you can buy a bag of pills and resell them. Like I had friends talking about those things, and I never messed around with them. I've hung out with people who have done meth, and I've never even touched that stuff. But it was one of those things where, like, the possibility, those risks are out there wherever you go. So it's always good to be informed. With everything that's happened and everything you've learned, it's obviously led you to promote it and bring awareness. I guess my question would be like, how are you delivering that message? Because you just mentioned a lot of social media where you can get it. Are you also using social media to provide it, the information?
Yes, of course. We are doing that. There are many of us across the nation that have lost our children, and we have come together. There's a lot of groups and strong efforts to bring about this awareness and this education. I've spoken at schools and organizations throughout California and the U.S. I've shared my story, presented the facts and what we are doing to, create awareness. It's really important that parents arm themselves with this information. It is the leading cause of death in the United States of 18 to 40-year-olds, they say. The fastest growing age group we're seeing right now is 11 to 14. that are passing away, that are dying. And that's horrible. Nobody should be dying from this. And we are, making sure people have the correct verbiage. It's not an overdose. Because when you say it's an overdose, you're suggesting there is a safe dose. Right? When you read a label on a prescription or something over the counter, it says take 2 every 6 hours.
Right.
That's the safe dose. There's no safe dose with fentanyl. 2 milligrams, the size of 2 grains of sand or salt, is enough to cause death. And a lot of times we're finding in these pills or in cocaine or, there's a lot more than that in those pills. And it's sudden death a lot of the times. We are seeing, there is San Luis Obispo County particularly has seen a huge increase. I think 25 times that from 2017. The fentanyl that the people that are dying from fentanyl. However, I don't know if there's a bright side, but on the other side, about 50 to 60 lives are being saved a month because of Narcan, naloxone, which is a very benign drug. It's given as a nasal spray. It reverses the effects of an opioid. So, the police carry it on their cars. The paramedics have it. I carry it in my car. You can get it at, I think slow opioid. You can get it at the health department. You can get it at a pharmacy. A lot of times they'll give it to you. There's no cost. Sometimes there's a small cost, but I always tell people you should have that on you because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah. So as far as the Narcan, I feel like I've seen a lot of TikTok videos where cops accidentally get exposed and their partner brings Narcan, or they see somebody kind of like start foaming from the mouth or something along those lines, and they start, following the steps on trying to reverse it.
Yeah.
Narcan is fairly new then, right? Because I haven't really heard it when I was younger until
Narcan's been around for a while.
Okay.
I know that. It's just, I think we're hearing so much more
because of the increase of what's happening. Yeah,
exactly. It with the poisonings that are going on, the Narcan is being used. We're seeing it, I think it was 2021. My son passed away March 2020. I think in 21 in our county, all the police now carry it. In their cars, in their patrol cars. So we're seeing a lot of lives saved. It would have been, we would have seen a huge increase in deaths if it wasn't for the Narcan. Yeah.
I mean, that's good. It's good to have it. It's like EpiPens now are also available on all flights. Like they're making that a thing.
Yes.
There's a lot of allergies out there.
And on aircrafts, there is Narcan also.
Oh, okay. Great. You mentioned, so he passed away March 2020 around the pandemic.
Yes.
If you're okay with that, I'd like to explore how that felt. Because at a moment where you had probably a lot of feelings rushing in, you were being told not to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Tell me how you dealt with that a little bit.
I'm a bit of a rebel. And, honestly, so yeah, everything shut down, I think, 10 days later or something like that. Yeah. After my son had passed away, our house was flooded with people, which was, wonderful to have the community support and our friends and family. But it was about a couple of months later, I was dealing with law enforcement and the district attorney's office because the person that did give it to my son was a drug dealer, was a known drug dealer in Paso Robles. So I was dealing with a lot of that, but for me, I wasn't getting the answers that I needed. I really wanted to know what fentanyl was, where it was coming from. I was starting to see other stories. I thought I was the only one. And I saw a story here and there, and I thought, wow, that I'm not the only one. This is happening across the United States. And then when I really started, getting all the information, I started finding other parents and seeing that it was 100,000 people dying a year, and I got in contact. I started contacting as many people as I could. We formed a group. We got on a plane and went to Ohio in September, I think, of 2020. We wore a mask and we went to an information gathering of about 22 parents. We were invited, and they gave us a lot of information. It was James Carroll, who was the drug czar at the time for our country, invited us to come and listen to what he had to say. It was scary listening to what was going on. I sat there with other parents, just crying, looking at other parents going, what just happened to us? And is this real? Is this Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Our kids are going to die, more kids. And, it was hard to come back to this county and give the information because people literally thought I was crazy. And I probably was a bit, losing your child makes you, crazy. But all I wanted to do was give this. I was just fired up with passion and wanting to say, look, if you don't get this information, this could happen to you also. Right. No one is immune to this. And my son didn't do drugs. He had a toothache. And of course, and it doesn't matter. It's, he was in a different demographic. We have people who are suffering with drug use, and disorders, and no one should die. No, everyone should be given the chance to get better, or not. Even if you're a first-time user, our kids shouldn't die from their mistakes. They should learn from it. My son made a horrible mistake. He was going to self-medicate, take a pill. He didn't have health insurance. So I'll just take this pill. This person is trying to help me. And, it caused him his life. And so it's horrifically sad that we live in a time where people are going to experiment. Kids are going to try things. Your frontal lobe isn't developed, especially for boys. So they're 26 or 28. Girls 22 or 24. So unfortunately, we have all made horrible decisions and mistakes, but that doesn't mean we should die from them.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, especially in today's world where everything's so fast and, it's, you kind of hope, okay, so if all this information is so quickly and if everything's so accessible, you start thinking to yourself, like, the information I have now should be way more accessible.
Right.
Do you see that happening with what you're doing, like a difference from when you started? Or is it just, if you're in the world, it feels like there's more information, but then you talk to someone who's like, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So,
there are still people that I talk to and they don't understand. They say, well, did it get mixed up with the Percocet? And it's hard to explain. There's no Percocet. There's no Adderall. There's no Xanax. They are, just buying a pill press, getting the precursors, the powder, mixing it up, pressing it out. It's all counterfeit, so there's no real pharmaceuticals in it, right? So that's tough to explain that to people. I get discouraged because I think there's a lot of people being saved because of the information, because of Narcan, but it's people are still dying, 125,000. And that's just what's reported. I think when I started this journey, it was every 13, 14 minutes, then 11 minutes, 9 minutes. I think it's every 7 minutes someone dies from fentanyl poisoning in our country. And that should not be happening. I'm hoping with different, with different issues with the border, maybe, a different approach at the border, maybe that's going to slow the fentanyl from coming in. I can only hope that, but we don't know, we don't know.
So, of course, you've been spreading the message. You've been, and I want to talk now a little bit about the event you have coming up, because I think one of the best ways to get information out there is just to have people gather, right? A lot of people aren't going to actively go look for this stuff. So, when is it? What it's about? Who's sponsoring it? Like whatever you want to include in those details.
Yeah. So funny you say that. Is trying to get the information out. And that was in 2020, around November, December of 2020. I was getting discouraged because it was really hard to get the information.
Yeah.
And really, truly, people didn't believe me because it is so, insane to say these tiny pills, our kids are going to die. We're going to see an uptick in this, right? So it was around January, February. I was just sitting there and I have a strong faith in God. And I said, Lord, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get this information out there. And I truly believe it was divine. And he said, throw a party. And I was like, what? We're in the middle of COVID. We can't throw a party. We did. And we threw an event. And I said, I put it out there, come to my event, learn about fentanyl. We're going to have Hawaiian food. We're from Hawaii originally. We're going to have a luau and entertainment and get some information on what's going on with this epidemic that's affecting our children. And I built it and they came. Yeah. And so that was a good start. And since then, we have been putting on an evening of aloha, we call it. My son was such a great human being, and aloha means love and compassion and caring for your community and for one another. There's so many meanings to this beautiful word. And so I wanted to continue on that spirit that he exuded so graciously. So we call it an evening of aloha. So what we do is we put on an event, we feed you. There's wine and beer and silent auction, entertainment. There's hula. And we have DJ Joy Bonner, who's amazing. She's, all over town and everyone loves her. And we have you come in and learn about fentanyl. And we have speakers. I believe Jenny will be speaking because she lost her brother to fentanyl poisoning. So she'll be speaking this year. I speak a little bit. And then to end the evening, we do a fashion show by Farron Elizabeth and Bloke Outfitters. They're both in Atascadero. So they will be there and we have a fashion show. So it is a fantastic event. This year we're having it at Cal Coast Brewery.
Oh, okay.
In Paso Robles.
Yeah.
And this year it's a little smaller and our tickets are limited. Before we could do about 160. This year we're doing about 100 tickets. And it's a really great event. And it just has that charm still. It's not over the top. You can feel the aloha spirit there. And we invite everybody to get your tickets soon because I know it'll sell out fast this year.
Yeah, and you said when is it coming up?
So it's June 8th.
Okay.
It's a Sunday. It's from 5 to 9:30. Cal Coast Brewery in the Patina Room.
Okay. And where can they buy tickets? Is there a Facebook page that they can go through?
So we have our flyers up on Instagram and Facebook. We also have our website, the Emilio Velci Aloha Project .com, and they can buy tickets there. We'll also have hayseed and housed-in wines that will be served. Ted Ross is one of our biggest supporters and sponsors, so we'll also have that there featuring them.
No, that's awesome. I met Rich for the first time at Cal Coast.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. And he's doing some great work. He was the day I went, he was Habitat for Humanity, I think it was.
Oh, wonderful.
So I stopped by and talked to him a little bit, but it's a great spot. So
it's beautiful.
So if people can't come because you're sold out, and fingers crossed you're going to sell out.
Yes.
How else can they support?
So we on our website we have a donate button.
Okay.
And we encourage, all 100% of the money goes back to the community. I support not myself, but our foundation supports the teen center in Atascadero. My son was a coach and a basketball coach and a referee there. He grew up in the teen center, and, as soon as he could, he started working there. Spent every Saturday volunteering with the kids. So we like to support them in purchasing uniforms for the kids or whatever else they may need there. We're, 100% behind them. And then I also give out scholarships to high school seniors every year. We've been doing Atascadero High School and Paloma Creek High School, continuing education school. And so we've given out, I don't know, probably 15 or 17 scholarships so far. And that's incredible. And we're so honored and blessed that we can do this, It's all about the kids. I have 4 sons myself, and it's my passion to keep them safe and do whatever, we can do to get this message out there and provide any kind of awareness to keep our children safe.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible thing you're doing. And this is if I'm doing my math right, the 3rd or 4th one?
This will be our 5th.
Fifth one. Okay.
Yes. So we did our first in 2021, 2022, 3, 4, and this is our 5th. Yes, we also do them in Hawaii. We did our 2nd one this past March 9th. It was the 5-year anniversary of my son's passing. And we also had our 2nd annual over there too. Hawaii is in much need of the information also. They're always a tad behind the mainland. Yeah. So getting the information there is crucial.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm interested to find out your thoughts on. You started 2021, and now you're talking about scholarships. You're talking about funding. Whatever some of the kids' needs. Like, did you see yourself doing this much besides spreading the word?
No,
No,
and believe me, there are days it's so overwhelming because I am dealing with dead children, dead people all the time. And, I'll sit there on some days and I'll just say, Lord, I'm quitting, I can't do much more, but, I get a phone call or something and it'll continue that, of course there's going to be setbacks, or I'll be like, nobody's getting it. I'm getting phone calls from parents. I got a phone call right before Christmas, and the mother was saying, I told my son about Emilio. I shared with him the story. I was terrified. I didn't want to be you, Cammi. I shared this information and my son just died 2 days ago. And, it's like, okay, I'm out there trying to help, but I still get those stories.
Yeah.
But then that story, creates that fire again in me, and I have to get out there again and get the information and keep going. And it truly is divine intervention, because I don't think I could do this on my own strength.
So you've found a community of parents who have gone through the same stuff, and you came back. You started this. I feel like there are people out there that you probably attracted to help support you, right? Because obviously you always try to find, like you approaching me to get the message out. But tell me a little bit about the people who have just naturally attracted to you and like, hey, we're going to help you get this word out.
Yes.
Whether or not they had somebody pass away that they loved.
Right. And I have a lot of wonderful people that surround me. It takes a village, truly, because it's not, I'm like the messenger, and, my team supports me and props me up. And, there are people, like I said, Farron Elizabeth from her store of the same name, Farron Elizabeth. She has been a great supporter. Ted Ross, Mary, she does my silent auction. She's incredible. Joy Bonner, and all of these people just donate their time and money, their resources to our foundation, because we need money, to keep doing this and to give the scholarships out. We have other supporters that always want to remain anonymous. They don't like the limelight, or they don't even want anyone to know, which, sometimes I just like, I want to say like where this is coming from, but we have an incredible team, and there are so many people that want to help, and it takes a village. And, of course, my family comes out from Hawaii. My sister and my sons are my biggest, support. I would not be able to do any of this without my sister, Yvette. She flies back and forth all the time, her own resources, and this, we have had to put our own resources into that, our own monies, but it is so worth it getting that information out. And, we are so grateful for the help and the support. It's been wonderful. We live in such an incredible place. Not only is it physically beautiful, the Central Coast, it's the gem. I always say the gem of California. We're very blessed and lucky to live here. And not only is it physically appealing, but the people, the kindness and love and compassion and support, and the desire to just want to make this keep making this a wonderful place, is just, so heartwarming and wonderful, because, we've had tremendous support from everyone, from the death of my son till now. It's been incredible. It was beautiful to see and witness.
Yeah. I mean, Paso in general, it's just, like you said, it's a beautiful spot, had beautiful people, and I always see like this common goal of just making things better, making things safe.
Yes.
So that's why when I hear like a whole parking situation, I'm like, there's bigger things to worry about.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
I get it. So this event's growing. It's going to keep growing. I feel for, Is there any organization that you kind of like mirrored it a little bit to, or is it you had to figure everything out yourself?
I had to kind of figure it out for myself. However, there are organizations. There's one in this area called Resilient Souls.
Yeah.
Lisa Majors and her team, they have been, working really hard. They do the anti-human trafficking and trauma-informed care. And she's been doing it a while, and it was wonderful. I went through her program couple of years, maybe a year or two before my son passed away. And that group came alongside me and helped me through my grief and what I was going through and all of that. And so she was her organization was one that I looked to.
Yeah.
And, I consider her a mentor and a great friend. She's been amazing to myself and my family. So yes. And then, just working with other parents, there's incredible organizations throughout the United States. One that I work closely with is Facing Fentanyl. Andrea Thomas and Adrienne Sauter, they are forces, to be reckoned with. They are working nonstop. They do a lot of things with our federal government and state governments. And we're working to bring some youth summits to different states. We're working on one for next year in Hawaii. That's going to be fantastic. We're trying to get 800 students to come to this one in Hawaii. But they're a fantastic organization. I encourage people to go to their website, Facing Fentanyl, and get a lot of information. They are, up to the minute information of what's going on in our country.
Facing Fentanyl.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any, obviously everything you're saying about what happened and what's going on and what message you obviously want everybody to learn, but is there anything specific you want parents right now to know that will help them?
I think it's crucial to monitor your children's social media accounts. That's where we're seeing a lot of these children and getting their information and learning about these drugs, or, somebody talking to them or trying to groom them, or, there's a big thing right now with Snapchat. There's big lawsuits, parents with Snapchat because that's where their child either got the pill or the drug or bullied, or different types of ways children have passed away. So I really encourage parents to monitor their children's social media, get the information about fentanyl, do your research, know who your children are interacting with. My son was 19. He was living on his own. He had a great job, and he was a grown man at that point. And I, from little, it was drugs. We would have this mantra: drugs are bad, mommy.
Yeah.
They would say this to me over and over, and I would always want to know where they were going and who they were hanging out with. Never in my wildest imaginations that I ever think I would have a child that died from a drug. I knew nothing of fentanyl. I didn't have any friends that knew anything about fentanyl. When I, was calling everybody saying, do you know about this? I was frantic. Everybody said, no, what is it? What? A small, tiny pill? Tiny little blue pill is not supposed to kill you, right? You could take, I don't know, several Percocets. It'll maybe make you sick, but this was not Percocet. And I can't stress that enough. It was counterfeit. It was entirely made out of fentanyl and fillers, illicit fentanyl and fillers. So yes, parents need to need to do their own research and get that information because, knowledge is power. And once you have the facts, the information, you can know what to do and give that to your children and really know drug is safe out there. When my son passed away, I think it was one in 6 or 8 pills. Now they say, I think it was like 2 out of 10 pills are counterfeit. Now it's like 8.5 are counterfeit. So,
Out of 10? Mm-hmm. Wow.
it's like Russian roulette with a loaded gun, right?
Yeah.
It's dangerous. It's really dangerous out there.
Yeah. I think the big thing I want to take away from this is stay involved in your kids' lives.
Exactly.
That's the big one. I know a lot of parents, you want to start giving them their freedom, and that doesn't mean to let go and let them do everything.
Yes.
Stay involved.
Yes.
Learn what they're learning. And I know it's tough. It's like, teaching, an old dog new tricks kind of thing, but like you have, I'm sure when my kids are 5 and 2 or soon to be 2, and we talk about certain things that would affect us now, right? Choking on a piece of toy or, not
Right.
chewing enough. Like those are our worries right now. And when we get to that point where they are socializing more and having that connection to the world through their phone, I would hope that they are okay with us staying involved. And I think that's the big thing for all parents. Don't be afraid to be involved. I think if you are involved and if the child feels guarded, there's something there.
Right.
Right. So look out for those for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's always staying involved.
Yeah.
And especially now, everyone is talking about fentanyl. There is a lot of it. You see it on the news, you see it on social media. There's a lot of us out there spreading this information. I had no information. I didn't even know, I think I heard of fentanyl. I didn't know what it was. The only thing I was terrified of was, don't do heroin or cocaine. I knew nothing of the drug culture. It seems so far away from myself and my family. But now when I talk to people and some of my friends will say to me, Cammi, now I know so many people that have passed away from fentanyl or families that have gone through what you went through.
Yeah.
Because when my friends were coming over, they're just shaking their head. They're like, what is this?
Yeah.
What happened? And we were just like running around going, what just happened? But now we have the information. And so, keep that and if someone can share that with the next person, it's that ripple effect.
Yeah.
We can hopefully eradicate this. That's my prayer.
Yeah. And I hope this show becomes a little bit of a ripple to help out too.
Yes. Thank you.
So it's called A Night of Aloha.
An evening
of Aloha.
Of Aloha.
At Cal Coast on June 8th. So if anybody's interested, hurry and buy tickets because you only have like 100 people, 100 seats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you can also donate and help out and reach out to Cammi if you want to learn more beyond what we've talked about today. So thank you so much for stopping in and sharing this story with me. And I really appreciate it.